Okay. Well, I think we could probably get started at least,
I do too.
especially since we're recording. So for those of you who may have just joined, I'm going to be taking Alan's place today. He is available on Slack to chat. He's just trapped in a meeting and couldn't make it to ours today. So if we have a question specifically for Alan, we can ask that on Slack and he'll respond. So today we've got about 3 items on our agenda, and the first one is we're going to have a presentation from Bryce about the pipeline process for dock builds. And FYI, we're going to have a few people ask you some tough questions just to make sure that we understand correctly. And Alan will also ask you some questions after the presentation to follow up if he needs. So, all right, are you feeling good to present, Bryce?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good. You me to go ahead, or what's the schedule for today?
Let's go ahead and have you start. Thanks, Bryce.
Okay, I'll share the screen. Okay, so open. This is the doc tree. Okay, let me pull these apart. So this is the build docs repo. Everything's run by drone. So if you come in here, you can see there's 9 pipelines. Let me pull up what that looks like in drone.
Before it was drone, did we used to run it automatically on Jenkins? Or
No,
did we
before
do
it was on drone, we ran it on a VM in C7. So
Gotcha.
there's a cron job that runs it once a day. You can see there's 9 pipelines. They all have a clone, build, steps. So basically, it uses the Ubuntu Bionic container, and it runs these 2 scripts. And there's a bunch of variables. Doc branch is the branch or tag that it clones from the salt repo. So you can see we clone the master branch for both PDF, EPUB, and HTML, and then clone the B3000.1 tag. And then there's the V2018 2.3 docs tag. All of these environment variables end up going in. You can see like build HTML, come in here, it checks some things. It first runs build env, everything runs build env first. So if you come to build env, we had a couple more things. Apt-get update, install Python 3 pip, get font config, make Sphinx. Install, right now we're on Sphinx 2.0.1, but I believe it works with as late as 2.2.2. Any newer than that, and it is broken.
What breaks it?
I don't know. There's errors. I haven't looked into it too deeply.
Okay.
At some point, we'll migrate to beyond Sphinx 2.2.2, but that's for another day. You can see right here, that's that doc branch tag or variable that we cloned from. Trying to think if there's any other ones that are useful. The website point release and website release, those 2 variables are mostly used in the publish. So I come back to publish. That's not as important. Publish PDF. So you can see where we upload it. The PDFs get uploaded to the path with that website point release. So we have a per point release up there on the website of the PDFs and the EPUBs. For HTML, we only upload to the main release. So that would be like, if you come to docs.saltstack.com, come here, make this wider. So we have, if you look up here at the top, 2019.2, 3000 is latest, or 2000.1 is latest. master is master. If you want to go back even older, there's 2018.3, I think it was. But I'm pretty sure we only keep the main releases of HTML, but the point releases of all PDFs. So all PDFs, you can go to any PDF and download it. One more thing I wanted to mention is in build-in, there's these variables: latest release, previous release, previous releaser. Those get used in here in the docs tree. Right here. So basically what these are used for is they end up so they are what these buttons are, like the labels on them, and also the hyperlink for this previous release is what these three environment variables are for. So that's basically how that works. There's some old craft in here, like we don't use salt states to build them anymore. We just do a drone pipeline, so we could probably clean those out. That as well, that's a salt state. A lot of this can get cleaned out, but I haven't done it yet. The only thing I think we really use from there is the, if you look here, we copy out the fonts. I think that might be the only thing we pull out of that folder.
Is that because that's like a leftover, that's like a previous path of building docs?
Yeah, because we used to build it on a VM in C7 with salt, and now we just use a drone pipeline.
And what kind of brought us, what brought the choice to using drone? Is drone pretty friendly to like open source stuff and kind of saying, hey, well, kind of like how Travis CNI other tools are?
Yeah.
Well, I think most of it was because C7 is steel, and we had to get off of it, and so we had to make some choices. But we're no longer going with drone because we're going to go with GitLab.
Yeah. So eventually this will migrate to GitLab.
Oh, okay, and then use the GitLab CI tooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Nice.
So
there's a
another
lot of
nice thing
leftovers.
Yeah. So it's no longer on a VM that no one knows where it is. It's public. Everyone can see what's going on. We don't run it except for when it needs to run. We're not leaving a VM running around all the time.
Do you know what that brings up? It's interesting to know. I kind of don't know what the migration plan is, because if the community is kind of used to using GitHub, and is there like a migration plan path, kind of, hey, this is how we're going to transition over to using GitLab instead of GitHub, or is there going to be stuff maybe like mirrored source or something like that? Or
I think we're going to mirror some, but yeah, so Felipe's been working on that. Go ahead, Bryce, sorry.
There's a lot of it depends. This one, the only one who really makes commits, like you go to the commit history, it's me and Frode, like basically the whole way down. So I don't think it should be that big a deal to move that.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
To clarify too, like salt probably won't ever move. The repository probably won't ever move to GitLab. I mean, we will run things there, but basically all the things that aren't salt itself, some of the smaller projects, and like if you've seen any of Tom's pop projects, like all that stuff now lives on GitLab. So the smaller, less entrenched historical projects, yeah, they're over there on GitLab. But we just found that the GitLab pipelines provide a lot of support and a lot of benefits over any other tools that we've used. And we don't have to patch them, every month when a new CVE comes out for Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what Felipe's plan is and how he wants to migrate over to that. I know we've talked about it a little bit, and that's something that we can still expose because we've had this exposed to the community, you know, and of course want the help from the working group and want to continue. And so we can look at how he's got that set up. And I know that a lot of the pop stuff is exposed as well, but we would like to use that as the CI/CD for the docs, since I think it would be a lot better. And then we can clean up some of this stuff too that we don't use anymore, wouldn't need.
Yeah. Another thing that, I mean, like I said, it's probably unlikely Salt will ever officially move to GitLab, just because, you know, GitHub is the de facto standard. But the thing that would be super nice is, you know, GitLab has a lot better granular permissions around things. And so it would make some of the different requests from the community, as far as like being able to really have a bit more ownership over the project, like it'd make some of that a lot easier to do in GitLab. But yeah, that's not really here nor there. Just
yeah, it's just the differences.
So talking to Tom today with repo moves, he says that we should put the docs for open under SaltStack open. How we organize it under that is still unknown. So that's something that could be talked about. How do we want to have folders? Do we want to have a docs folder and all the docs inside that folder? Or, anyway, if the docs team has any opinions on that, I'm open.
It does seem like having a docs folder would be kind of nice, especially if we have multiple different
yeah, because I think we have a couple doc repos. There's one for, so first of all, there's repo.saltstack.com. This main landing page is a doc repo. And we have this main landing page is a repo. We also have tutorials is another repo. And then we have build docs, which builds the Salt docs. So we have at least 4 repos for open for building docs.
Yeah, I'm on board with that same idea of like if we had a docs folder for that organization versus the code like pop, for example.
Yeah.
And some of those, I don't know if you're going to go into this, Bryce, but some of those pages have some wrappers around them that we've also, like Ian, who joins this group sometimes, that's in marketing. He's got enough developer experience that we just have him as he wants to make changes to like the images. If you want to, do you still have that open? Like the docs page that has the banner at the top. We've got like a JavaScript, yeah, like this, like where it says BenchWatch, SaltConf 19, or some of these. So they can add some things ad hoc, and we don't have to do like a doc release, you know, for them to add, yeah, some of these banners and things.
Yeah, most of that stuff is, so they just change the image most of the time, and then the href, they just redirect when you click on it. So they usually handle that by just redirecting or providing a different image.
Right.
Somewhere else.
And there's been some talk of them using a different CMS, and we would have to look at how we wanted to integrate with that. Right now, I think that this is probably the best solution, to just give them the access that they need to make those couple of changes. And we do it just like a PR, just like we would if we were making the changes for them. Because there was a lot of, oh, well, who's going to have time to do this? And it's such a small change. And, you know, we didn't have as many people at that time that could have just done it. And so a lot of time it came down to like, okay, so when does Megan have time? Because she's also got it wasn't on drone. And so it was hitting C7 in a VM. There was just a lot of things there. And so we tried to make that easier, but there is more that may come when we start looking at some of those other stakeholders that want to have access or want it to look a certain way. Like you can see this banner at the top where like SaltStack is at a funny left justified, and we've let that go because that's, you know, that's marketing and they can figure that out. But yeah, there's some things. fun stuff.
Did we derail you too much, Bryce? I'm sorry.
No, I can't think of anything else to talk about. So unless you guys
Okay.
have questions.
Anything else that we need to ask about?
We don't run doc
We do on a-
updates every day, do we?
We do them daily, yes.
We do them daily. And what time do they run?
It's an, let's see. I come here in settings,
Mhm.
it's just at daily. So whenever, you can look
If there's a
on here,
change.
it'll tell you the exact time that it was built.
Right. Yeah. I just didn't know if we had a set or if it was on change. And then some of this, because you guys will be familiar with the enterprise stuff, the top part where it says binge watch and then the buttons and the search bar, we've had that on enterprise, but it wasn't working. I don't know if you guys just took it out since I haven't been over there, but
if you look at build HTML, all of that stuff is because of the salt stack or salt on salt stack variable.
Mhm.
Where'd it go? So that's there, that gets set from there. And then if you come out to here, and I think it's in themes, salt stack 2, I think it's layout. So anyway, that's in Jinja all over the place. To have differences between the normal ones, like if you normally build it, there's like no banner ads and stuff like that. That's all
it's blank.
done. That difference is all done with that variable.
Mm-hmm. So we've had a lot of stuff between the two, kind of the docs between enterprise and open not be super compatible since we made a lot of changes to enterprise stuff. And that, I think that's been okay, but there's probably a path to get back to that because we want those to match up and be more similar. I think you guys do anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that's definitely on our roadmap. It might not be on our roadmap for this cycle, but
Sure.
maybe for the next one, fingers crossed.
Yeah, and so as we look at like what that build pipeline is going to look like and what that transition is going to look like as we move away from drone and we move to GitLab for enterprise, and you guys will probably do that sooner than open will. If I had to guess, I don't actually know.
I think that a lot of the work that we're doing for this release cycle is essentially teeing us up to begin walking down the path to now our doc sets will be integrated and using the same tool set and things like that. That's a lot of what we're working on right now. It's just getting prepared for that to happen. So, yeah.
That'll be good. And I think that'll, as you guys do that with what happens with enterprise, then when we look to transition for some of this other stuff, it'll be good to have that input, that you guys have had that knowledge and that input to do it with enterprise, to do things with this. I had a question, Bryce, about Acrylamid, because are we hosting our own Acrylamid?
So
what we're doing?
I think that might be a private repo, I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
This is where I'm going to be
right
like,
here.
can you break out the sock puppets? What is Acrylamid?
What's
or
Acrylamid?
Can you do that for me? Sorry.
Okay, so the repo landing, which long-term, this doesn't need to be private. We need some refactoring first, but if you look at build.sh, so we host our own Acrylamid on GitLab already. It's public.
On GitLab?
So,
oh.
Yeah, right here, it's public. So it was originally maintained as a fork by one of our previous employees, and we just kept using that fork, and we don't want to just keep using it in case, I don't know where he is, if he accidentally deletes it or something like that. So anyways, we made a fork ourselves for hosting it on GitLab. So we basically install pandoc git, start a virtual env with that.
I'm
And
kind
all
of
this you can
surprised to have
run
this.
just in a Docker container pretty easily. It only runs on Python 2.
Yeah.
So
Ouch.
Yeah, so there's some things here, and I don't remember exactly. So I wasn't totally involved with this when we moved it over to GitLab, because when we first talked about it, Chris and I, Bryce, I was like, well, why can't we just use Sphinx instead of Acrylamid? And I don't know exactly what it does that
So,
Sphinx won't
I think
do.
it's just a different layout.
But again, a layout.
So, like-
So I don't know why we're using it.
So like Sphinx is all Markdown, whereas
Right.
I don't know, Acrylamid is all Markdown. Can Sphinx take Markdown?
Sphinx is RST, I believe. So-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sphinx-
right.
Sphinx can take Markdown, though. I mean, it does have an extension that allows it, but it does have limited functionality when it comes to things like variable replacement and that kind of thing, because it's not the native RST stuff.
Mhm. And so I don't know if that's why we used it in the past and why we haven't gotten off of it, is because there's enough of those variables that we don't know how to transition over to using just Sphinx.
Yeah, it looks like
I don't know.
there's also some Jinja or something in here too, as well.
There's some other things in there. We would need to, if we wanted to get rid of Acrylamid and replace it with something, we would definitely need to sit down and really make a plan and hammer out where things are, and then probably really test it heavily.
Yeah, because I'm definitely not a fan of us trying to maintain a fork of a static site generator doesn't really have much of a presence.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've questioned this for the whole 2 years that I've been here. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? And for some reason, we cannot get off of it. And even when I talk to Chris, he's like, we should be able to use Sphinx for this. And I'm like, right? I mean, I don't know what's going on, but it's that combination, Derek, that you bring of something like this. This is like the key thing of someone who understands the automation, understands what the static site generator is going to do, but is also a tech writer and is like, but I need it to do this in this way.
Yeah, and I've been looking pretty deeply into Sphinx for one of our projects that we're currently doing and migrating over. And I do know that Sphinx uses, I mean, its dependency uses Jinja 2 because its themes use Jinja 2 when it comes to modifying their templates. So if it came to, hey, an issue is the fact that maybe they didn't know how to use Sphinx to create its own, because you can create your own themes technically for Sphinx. So if it's already Jinja 2 syntax too, would be a lot less work in trying to, I imagine, of course, because I don't have experience making a theme for Sphinx. So, but at least it looks like it's a possibility with that kind of thing.
I'm just curious, are there other sites that run Acrylamid besides the docs?
Yeah, so this tutorials page as well as the overview are also Acrylamid.
But not the community page?
Like community.saltstack.com.
Yeah, I was just curious if that one runs it
Bevy.
too.
That's all Bevy.
That's Bevy.
Okay.
And so we use something separate for that. I think that some of that as well, one of the reasons that we stopped looking at changing things goes back to that stakeholders view. And it's like, well, are you guys moving to a CMS that you would rather use? Because then we're going to stop looking into this for some of these pages because I have plenty of other work to do. So it's an overlap of why some things haven't changed over time.
Yeah, I see the last update to our Acrylamid on GitLab was 4 years ago. So
Yay!
Great. And it's on Python too.
What tag was that we use? 710A. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
Okay. Well, that's something for us to work on, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So when you guys went to Jekyll, it was to get off of Acrylamid, I believe.
I gotcha. That makes
And
sense.
it was to get rid of that dependency, because it was like, well, but we don't need it on the enterprise side at all. So let's yank it. And so that puts us in kind of, now you guys know kind of why, the history a little bit.
Yeah, that
That's
does.
How
very
we got
helpful.
here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bryce. Were there any other questions for Bryce or anybody?
I mean,
Okay.
I guess I did have, since you're just showing the different sites.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I don't know where the repos are for each of these
Everything
things.
other than docs repo landing that's Acrylamid is under sscriv/sse docs.
It's another
They're all
org.
in different folders. And there's web framework and formulas. I have no idea what they are. I mean, Last Touch 3 years ago, Last Touch 4 years ago. I don't know if we even use it anymore. I know, so repo landing has been moved. Like, you come in here, it's been moved. But this get started and doc landing are used.
Okay,
My guess
cool.
is that these two are just abandoned.
And I think, I'm pretty sure, Derek, that I gave you access to that. And I'm pretty sure that, Elisa, you have access to that.
You did give.
Most of-
I have access. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that stuff's supposed to move. I don't know what the time frame is.
Okay.
I'd need to ask Felipe. And so if we need to give like Alan and Jason access to that for this work group, that's fine, we can. It will move soonish, like maybe in this release cycle. So I've kind of waited because I'm just not sure what everybody needs. And if they need it, they can just ask, and I'll make sure that that
Okay.
happens.
Sounds good. Did you have any more questions, Derek?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head. I guess it just looked like the drone CI was running some those scripting. It doesn't look like there are containers built ahead of time. It's more like, hey, it uses a base container to then install the packages that you need during it.
And so we could, let me go back to Salt Stack, build docs. When we get to GitLab, it's easy to make containers and have them saved. When we run the build PDF job, it spends half the time just installing Pandoc. It's like
That's what I was
7 minutes
thinking when I was
just
looking at.
installing Pandoc. So, and of a total of like, I think 20 minutes total.
Oof, yeah.
For the HTML, it just installs Sphinx, which is pretty quick. So I don't know if that would make sense to use a non-base container, but the PDF one we could definitely speed up if we wanted to do that.
Yeah, because I could see a future where, because it'd be cool to see if like if the PDF generation is using a lot of the exact same packages and fonts that we maybe end up using for generating PDFs out of the other projects, and if we just had that base container for it. And I completely understand having the separation of Sphinx, because then that could be something that's maybe either requirements file based for a particular docs repo that goes, hey, that's pinned to this version of Sphinx, or I could see some cool potentials there for making it sleek and uniform across whenever able.
I did have one thing I kind of wanted to post to this group during this. It doesn't totally go with building, but it kind of goes with that integration of like how docs happen and live, and then how Salt lives. And there's a PR out there right now that is just cleaning up misspellings, but some of those misspellings are actually like how it's spelled in the module or how it's spelled in Salt.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah. And so there's some things like that I'm like, I would really like a work group to go through that, to, you know, separate that PR out, because it's one giant PR. It does have several commits, and be like, oh, but this one I don't want to change because it's not just a spelling, because that's how it's spelled in the module. And so that's not ever going to run if I change it in the docs, right? Because that's what I think is happening with this work group a lot, is that there's this, well, wait, we did C when we should have done A and B first, and we're putting the cart above the horse, and let's try to make sure that we're going in the right order here. This group, I think, can do a really good job with that. The community wants to help, but sometimes I think they're just executing instead of thinking about like, oh, but I need to do A and B before C can come.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did
Go
want to
ahead.
mention, so when we upgraded from, I think it was Sphinx 1.4.7 a while, it was like a year and a half ago. They switched from doing a non-deep copy to a deep copy on the PyMod index, which made it so we couldn't rename it to SaltMod index at least easily. No one looked into it. So since then, I've just been copying it in case there's any links out there to it. We should, I think, someone make a decision if we want to actually go through and fix it for real so that it just puts it at SaltMod index, or if we should just stop caring and just call it a PyMod index. Because it's probably messing up SEO to have both with the same content.
Yeah.
So do we suddenly understand why some of these links don't work, or that he's got to manually go back and check some of them? It may be.
Yeah, so this is all the 404 page. There's that one. And then that, if it's not latest, it automatically redirects to the content. So otherwise you just get either a Apache index or nothing. So
I think that explains a few things. Do we have a ticket on that, Bryce?
on this one,
Yeah,
I think so. I think we have
I think
an
we
open
do
ticket.
too.
I think it says discussion pending, and we've never discussed it.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's one of those like, well, we need to get to that, so we just haven't got it.
I do see there's a comment there that says dealing with this bug, and so there's a GitHub issues at least tied to.
okay.
Yeah.
And Bryce, you said that
Yeah,
it's
discussion pending.
oh, there we go.
Okay.
You mentioned that when you said, hey, this may work on 2.2.2 but not 2.4.4, is it because there's been some kind of testing that's gone on across those different versions, or kind of how did you?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and do that again. It was months ago that I ran into that, and then I'm like, well, I don't have time now, so I'll not worry about it.
All right.
Okay. Any more on this topic before we move on in the agenda? Okay. So Alan wanted me to mention that we need to make a tag for the Sphinx 404 checker to skip example URLs and application setup URLs. As he's been going through the ticket that I think it was created about the broken links that he searched for, he found out that there were a lot of false negatives, and that was the reason why, is that sometimes they were just example URLs in the code and application setup stuff. So that was his recommendation. Is there anybody who's willing to take an action item on for that?
You know
Hi.
you want to do it. Who is it?
Hi, it was me that did it in the first place. And what it actually was is I grepped the output of the overall build. So what it was, I ran one command and it pulled out all of those lines. So someone can just go through that and just grep that again. It's not really exceptionally difficult. Yeah, I mean, if I get a chance, I'll do it, but I've got my hands full at the moment.
Yeah, no worries. By the way, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't think we.
What it is while I'm working on the formulas group, I'm actually helping out with the formulas group. I'll be running that working group when it starts in a couple of weeks' time. But I always find issues in the documentation. So I've been putting quite a few PRs in for documentation along the way. And I keep spotting these little issues here and there. So I've been following you guys on the YouTube, and I thought I'd just listen in today.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Just little bits I could contribute just to give you guys a bit of a step up.
It's great. Thank you.
No problem. No
problem. Yeah, so where should we go on that one? I feel like I'm not. Yeah.
we have the issue link for that, or kind of where the history around that stuff is? Can I take a look
Yeah,
at
let
it?
me share out that. Let's see. Is it this one? Work through the list of the broken links given by running make link check. Is this one that we just need to grab again? I think this is it. Imran, is this correct?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, like I said, it actually gave me a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I separated it out by, just a bit of editing in Vim and stuff. I just pulled it in and pulled it out. So it can be done quite easily with I was just testing things out at the time. I'm sure it could be easily adjusted.
Sure.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So Derek, you're thinking of at least looking into it?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay, so
I'm going to assign you.
All you'll need to do is run make
Yeah.
link check. That's all you need to do, and all the output will start coming out. You just need to collect it somewhere and have a look through it.
Okay, you didn't have to do any modifications with the make file. It's going to be built in already with the link check.
No, it's built into Sphinx. So
Oh,
as long as you've
awesome.
got everything configured right, you just write make link check and everything else is done for you. You just want to get that output and sort of put it into Vim or wherever you want to put it in and just adjust it from there.
All right.
cool. Okay. Well, I think that takes care of that agenda item. Okay, the next thing Alan wanted us to talk about is that everybody in the group should take on an official issue. Right now we're working on low-hanging fruit. That's basically broken URLs and typos. So very easy commit to just take on one issue. And I was wondering, Sage, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up and helping us make some assignments, would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah. I was going to pull up just this. Did you guys want to go through SALT stuff as well, or do you want to just go through just the stuff that's in Doc Hub?
Let's at least start with the Doc Hub.
Okay.
I think that'll probably give us enough between the number of people that are here now.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, for sure, assign me one. I need to work on one. I have a goal.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm not sure which one to take. So
Yeah. Let's see. Some of these. So a lot of them you're going to dig in, and you're going to dig in and need to just start getting comfortable with what that documentation looks like for SALT. And if you have a place in SALT that you enjoy working already, it's a good place to start. If you're looking for something that's totally new, like something that doesn't look particularly, familiar to you, and a lot of these, let's see, I don't know if I know what SLT task is. Solo long-term task. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. And single day task. So your SSDs are going to be smaller.
Okay, that's probably the kind of thing I should. Okay, here's what I will personally commit to: looking through the Docs Hub and assigning myself something by end of day. That's my commitment. Okay.
Totally good.
Okay. Cool.
Totally good.
Does anybody else want to? So maybe can I push? Well, Derek, you've kind of already taken on a task today. Are you willing to take on one more? Oh, did Derek have to? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, fine. I was looking at the issue, that work through list of broken links one.
Which is big. It is going to be multiple.
Yeah, because I think what would be interesting would be to also, as part of that, to look in, hey, can this actually be part of the, because shouldn't there be testing, for example, as part of the build?
Yeah.
To go,
so
are these links, any of these links broken or not?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we talked about that, and that was something that I don't know if we're totally ready to just hand off sort of a package thing of a test to say, here, Fude, why don't you run this on, releases or, once a month or something like that. So we would need to get that ready. And I think that is a separate task to kind of get it all ready for him and then have him run it. Once we have that ready, I have that on my list to make that connection with QA to then have that run as part of his test suite on, we were talking about doing it on release. Since we're doing those right now about every 4 months, if we wanted sooner, we could and run it with some sort of test pipeline. Totally doable.
I think I'll for now I'll stick with this with this with the link check issue.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
sounds
it's a big
good.
one.
Yeah.
So I'll commit to doing a tiny issue for a single day task. But I might also take on that pillar documentation task just to refresh the pillar documentation. I think that would be a good experience too.
Is that this one or was it another one?
It is it 56239? Is that one?
Oh, and salt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And some of those don't have tickets here.
Oh, gotcha. Makes sense. So that'll be my salt one. Okay. I'll do
Totally
a
good.
doc sub one and a salt one. So, okay.
Totally good. Yeah, if you want to do that one.
This number 10, the test suite documentation, I was just looking into that, and I think I can take that one because that's right along the test clinic lines of
Totally.
work. So it's, yeah, stuff
Wayne,
I'm
you're not in here.
doing.
That's funny. Let me go
Thanks.
add you.
Thanks, Wayne. Should we assign something to Alan? He told us he wanted to be assigned to something too.
Yeah, we can. Let me go add Wayne here. If it's going to take an
Oh, yeah, no
age.
worries.
Come on. Internet, you can do it.
This feels good. We're making progress. I don't know why, but just the act of assigning in a ticket feels like progress.
It is progress.
Does.
Forward motion.
Yeah. It's something. Baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
For that matter, neither was salt.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'll cover a couple of follow-ups from our last meeting, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Ashley wanted me to report. She's sorry she couldn't make it to the working group. She doesn't necessarily think she'll attend the future meetups for this because it's not her primary task or primary responsibility. But Derek and I will continue to be here. She wanted to report that the SSE engineering team does not refer to any specific style guide when they're writing their API doc strings. However, they are typically open to suggestions and guidance when it comes to API doc writing practices. So if Open decides on a style guide, we can suggest the SSE adopts the same one going forward. So it looks like that's something the docs team could possibly take on. To think about a style guide for the API. That's probably a little further along down our roadmap, but good for us to think about too. So that's that. I had an action item. I did find the SALT style guide, the official one.
Right. That was a good one.
So I'm going to put that in the chat, and then I will also add it to the documentation group after the meeting.
Yeah, do we have probably make a directory for it in the repo. Probably be good to have it here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add that.
Okay. Do you want to do that or you want me to?
Yep, I can do that.
Cool.
That's another good one to take on.
Yeah, we can even make you an issue for it. So then you can look like you're
oh, hey.
Look at this.
I can get credit.
SALT style guide.
I think the next time we get any sort of SaltStack branded T-shirts, Sage needs a special one. That's somewhere on the shirt. It says, "Is there an issue for that?"
Is there an issue for that? Do you have a ticket for that? So you know that one of my teams in a previous life was an IT help desk team. So I was always like, "So do you have a ticket? So do you have a ticket? Is there a ticket for that? How about I write one for you?" Here, I'll let you fill this out.
Sounds good.
Go.
Placeholder for now.
Placeholder for now. You can fill the rest of it out. I don't know what.
Does that mean, like, I'm thinking of a play on words here. Does that make it a stub ticket? So like a ticket stub.
I like it. Lots of ticket
Too
stubs.
bad Ken C is not here to appreciate my puns. But
No, I will appreciate them. I love a good pun.
All right.
Oh, I should put this
we
in
did
there.
want to. Did you assign that ticket to Wayne?
I did.
Sorry to make you do a million things at once.
No, you're good. I did assign that to Wayne.
Okay.
Where
And
did
then
I
we
go?
wanted to
There it is.
assign one to Alan.
Yeah, which one do we want to assign to Alan? Something, probably something that's an SSD task.
Yeah.
Should we give him this
That
one?
would be a good one for him. Yeah.
Cool, let's assign him. Cool, he's assigned.
Okay. Perfect.
I am not going to take one on because I've been told that I need to focus on. So
That's
sorry,
okay.
guys.
I'm
But I
not.
will
I'm also not going
help
to
you.
twist anyone's arm. Does anybody else want to do one? Okay. All right. Well, that probably brings us to our close for the
Cool.
day. 10 minutes early. It's my gift
You
to
know?
you.
Hey,
Okay.
it's a gift.
Yeah. All right. And I think we're meeting again in 2 weeks. I think we've got a 2-week schedule for now. So, okay. Thank you to all of you who came. Thank you especially to Bryce for going over that helpful information, and to Sage for assigning tickets and running the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye. Happy
Ciao.
Thursday.
Bye, everybody.